Enjoy.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Thomas. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. My
Good.
apologies. I don't understand how that happened, but yeah, I had a
It's
wrong
okay.
time.
It's all right. You know, you get used to something being one way for a while, and even after it changes, it's our default position. So, you gonna share the screen, bro?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna share the screen.
Okay.
I think I would talk on the where I put it now. Just give me a second.
So, just a quick update. Any problems manifesting in Italian banks that you thought were going to happen for a while?
No, they are still managing through, which has been very surprising to us actually. So this is a call we have been definitely wrong on the. We don't really understand how it happened. How did they manage to pull through all this? But they have done it.
Plus, that vote went the other way. That vote, I think it was in your country.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a margin of 7 votes. So, and I can tell you that if the vote would have been cast 2 weeks earlier, the Finland would have rejected the fund. So it was extremely close. So that's like a that was a big fight here. And the thing is that what is the I don't remember the English name of the committee, but basically the parliament decided on their decision that this is the fund is one-off. It does not include any extension of the fund or making it permanent. So now when France and Germany or probably looks like France has already made it clear that it will propose of making the fund permanent. And if that happens, Finland will have to vote again. And in that case, I'm highly skeptical whether it goes through here, because it was a margin of 7 votes in a 200-member parliament. So it was a close call.
Okay. So you want to address the repo market?
Yeah, this is something I wrote just I published about 2 hours 46 minutes ago actually. So this is something that is I don't think talk enough. We've been following the problems in the repo market since September 2019, and the thing which is going on now is essentially this. So I don't know, many of you probably have heard or have not heard that this is the Federal Reserve offers a reverse repo facility where if you have excess cash, you can lend it to the Fed for one night. And as you can see, this is now at the very high level, running at $800 billion per day. And it reached $1 trillion on the turn of June and July. So this is massive usage. And as you can see, it has been very flat for very, very long. And it's actually, if you would continue this graph, there has been some usage in 2014, 2015, but otherwise it's usually flat. So,
so is this what they used to call matched sales?
Matched sales?
Matched.
Hatched.
MATCHED, match sales, reverse repos, where they're draining reserves. The Fed is draining.
This is draining liquidity, actually.
Yeah, that's what it. Okay.
Yeah.
They used to call it match sales. Yeah,
match sales. Yeah, that's an older term, and I'm actually not familiar with it. But
this is not.
This is not a doing of the. This is not actually doing of the Fed.
Okay.
This is banks putting their money there. And other financial institutions. So this is not something Fed is actively trying to do. And this is a rather worrying development which went mostly unnoticed. Just in the financial media, just before the Wall Street Journal interviewed Zoltan Botstar, who is a repo specialist in Credit Suisse, about it was early July. And Zoltan basically explained that there are some bigger issues, and he actually forecasted that the usage will increase quite heavily during reaching close to 2 trillion at the end of August, which would be a massive number.
Is this because there's no loan demand and they're, the banks can't have all this cash on their balance sheet, so they have to move it. They have to move it off.
This is
a regulation thing, right?
This is how it goes. Like the basic function of quantitative easing is that when the Fed buys through the primary dealers, it creates, as it gets the treasury or whatever bond it buys, the one who sells it gets either reserves or deposits or cash, and it depends on who the Fed or the primary dealers buy the treasuries. If it's a non-bank like household, hedge fund, monetary fund, it increases deposits or cash in the banking system. And this is what we can see in the graph here. So if you look at the cash in commercial banks, it was rather stable for very long, and then the QE started. And if you see every time the QE asset is in green, every time there has been an increase or the QE has been running, there's been a massive increases in the cash reserves. And when there has been a QT, or the central bank the Fed has been diminishing the balance sheet, it has fallen. And then there's this massive peak. Sorry about that. Then there's this massive peak, which is the corona bailout here, during which the balance sheet of the Fed grew by whopping $3 trillion, doubling almost in 3 months. And it's shown here. And after, the cash balances have been pushing heavily higher. And we were the first to argue that this is actually the reason for all the reverse repo stuff, because banks are now flooded with cash and deposits, and they cannot push it out anymore. So the thing, basically how banks have responded to this flow of deposits and reserves in the system is that they have tried to increase lending, and especially riskier lending, because reserves which have been pushed in their balance sheet they yield very low return. So they have been trying to counterbalance this by issuing riskier loans.
And I heard that I saw a stat that loan demand is contracting.
Yeah, and it's coming here. So this is loans and leases in bank credit. And as you can see, this has been after a normal recession, like if you look at the 2002 recession here, you notice that, the loan demand or the loans usually grow rather steadily after financial crisis. It's rather obvious that there is because there's a problem with the banking system, the lending contracts. And then it grows again here, and then something happens during the corona bailout and the shortest recession in U.S. history between February and April 2020. So there's a spike in the lending, and then it is contracting. And this is the big issue here. So if banks are not lending, it effectively means that all that is stopping the U.S. from entering into a recession is the stimulus from the Biden administration, basically.
Okay, so the monetary grease to keep the economy wheels going isn't working. So fiscal stimulus is the only thing left. So if there's a problem with getting an infrastructure bill through, that could be a market disappointment.
Yeah, for example. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is quite a big issue. The U.S. is closing in on a recession, and moreover, the thing is that if you look at the gross domestic investments, they have actually plateaued already here. So this is not a big thing, but still, they seem to have stopped the growth. So, there is some indications that this is already happening. if you look at this.
Okay.
And yeah. So, but there's another thing. If you consider what this means, is that the banks and the financial institutions have parked about like 800 to 900 billion of the cash, the liquidity the Fed has been pushing into the financial markets. So they are doing this every night. And if you look at this graph, it means that basically this whole growth in a year has been pushed away from the market. So this is actually quantitative tightening already.
Was there a rate that was moved up from 0.0
Yeah.
to
In
0.05?
Yep, in around the it was in around, let me see, it was in the mid June, so about here. But the thing is that they had already grown quite heavily, and it made the thing worse. So this is the spike after the rate hike.
Okay, and no one really knows. No one talks about it anyway.
Yeah, this is a strange thing, and there's very massive implications here. So yeah, so the QEs would have become utterly inefficient in the resuscitating the economy, and the bigger thing for a central bank is this. So it's the guardian of the commercial banks, and what is now happening effectively is that central bank, we have been hearing reports that commercial banks do not want to hold any larger deposits. And it's because they have become flooded, awashed basically with cash. So the basic function of the very essence of the banking system is to hold deposits, and it's going away because of the QE. So the banks are losing their basic function or the basic mechanism they are there for. And I'm rather certain that this is not what the Fed wants to what Fed wants to happen to banks.
So I heard that they were going to all this cash. One solution was to not hold it on the bank's balance sheet and have a money market fund that the Fed will back, and that could that would handle the problem for depositors, but not necessarily for the banks.
If you think about the money market accounts, they are not like your normal checking accounts. They're very different. You tie the money there basically, and it would just make banks a bigger. They would have a bigger role in the money markets. They would increase their risks and speculative nature of the banks. It doesn't matter if the Fed backs them or not, because it backs basically all the deposits. But it would change the banking system in a very fundamental way. And I'm arguing that the Fed does not want to see this happening. So
what are they going to do?
They're going to taper.
Okay.
By the end of August, probably. Announcement in Jackson Hole.
All right, that's a call.
That's a call.
All right. I don't know if you've been hearing it, but I want to wrap it with this. I think they asked Janet Yellen, who's Secretary of the Treasury now, used to be Fed chairman, about the renomination of Powell at the end of his term, which I think is near year end. And she did not exactly have a ringing endorsement of that, like it's going to happen. And I've heard from other sources like Harold Malgrim that she would prefer Brainerd. So maybe Jay Powell is going to be more concerned about his legacy and that he had to tighten, rather than knowing that his tenure may be limited to another 5-6 months. Maybe he does the right thing and tapers.
Yeah, that's
and then he could be blamed for any kind of recession or financial accident and be replaced at the end of his term. What do you think?
I think that's a very plausible hypothesis. Why not? You
always need a scapegoat, right?
Yeah, basically, and it's possible that you don't want to be the one who say, well, you pushed it too far and it went, because there's no exit. There's no exit route for the Fed here. Nothing.
Yeah.
And if you consider the inflation shock on which we warned like in March that it's coming, and now we think it's going to be persistent. So it's going to last and even accelerate. If you add that to it, there is no other option for the Fed than to taper and start to talk about raising rates. And that's not going to go well with the financial markets.
How do you think gold will do and the dollar will do?
I think the gold and the dollar will, at least the gold will jump during the fall. And I'm thinking that possibly also dollar, because it's a safe haven, it behaves really strangely. So in the first stages of a crisis, it will, even if the crisis in the US, it will increase in value or in price.
Okay.
So
you're due for a prediction to manifest, you know.
I am, yeah.
You're due, and you know, most of the markets, you know, hearing from different Fed officials, that will be in perfect, the timing will be right to start tapering year end. So this would have a lot of people off sides in August, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. And that's our call at the moment, just for the reasons.
Well, you're always worth waiting for, Tuomas.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm glad that we're able to put it together, and appreciate your view on what's happening here. And you know, you're the messenger, and you're bringing us a message. And you know what they say, in a bear market, anything that could go wrong does, and in a bull market, anything that could go wrong doesn't. So maybe the transition is this August.
Yeah.
And August, I think seasonally, is a pretty negative month for the market as well.
It usually is. Yeah. But let's see how this goes.
Okay, and everyone's saying please come again, so I'm forced to invite you back. I'll talk to you on Twitter.
We will.
All right. So thanks very much for your time, and I appreciate your view on the repo market. And
I'm happy to come back in September to see how our call went.
Okay. All right. We'll do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm out to November, but I'll find a day for you in September. Okay.
Excellent. We'll do that.
All right, MT.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your attendance and sticking around to hear Tuomas, and appreciate you guys. You could join Blake and the team in 15 minutes. And remember, don't just count your repo T-bills, 90 days, buy 90-day treasuries, and keep rolling them. And I'll see everyone tomorrow. Good hunting, and count your blessings. Find one thing to be grateful for. Adios.